downside of getting what you want. It breaks down, we expect some life transitions to be difficult, like a serious illness or the end of a relationship, but others, a new house, a marriage, a promotion, are more positive. You should be happy, so why do you feel sad? The grief counselor that was interviewed for this article talks about is that anytime you're gaining something new in life, you're also giving something else up. Hey, we're really moving our lives forward, but at the same time, we're sad. Right? This pull. And I thought this was a really interesting article that we don't talk a lot about in life, right? What the grief that comes, we always think of grief coming from loss, not necessarily coming from gain. And so what do you do? Well, the counselor and the author suggested 3 steps. The first is to recognize it, right? Recognize that that you have some grief. Recognize that you're in this space, right? And ask some questions. Why am I feeling this way? What am I feeling and why am I feeling this way? What am I losing with this gain? What am I losing? Very powerful question. What am I losing with this gain? And then letting yourself, that I just said, letting yourself mourn, right? Letting yourself go through some of that mourning process, right? That's important. You can't rush that process. It's okay. This is there's a we work with retirees at times. People will say things like, "Oh, you're retiring. How wonderful! You must be so happy." Yes, I'm happy, but I'm sad. Right? I'm happy because but this career that was my career, this career of doing what I did is no longer what I'll be doing, right? And now I have to recreate. I have to create something new. And that's what the third step is here, is plan for a well-rounded ending. And I think that's a really good phrasing there, a well-rounded ending. What does that mean, a well-rounded ending? So essentially it means that how do you honor that transition, right? How do you think about what you liked in your previous life, and how do you start the process of identifying those things that you want to carry forward? And I'd probably quibble with this word ending, because it's not really an ending. It's a transition. I don't like the word ending. Something may be, because the components of it don't have to end. And actually, there's a great author, one of the best books I think I've shared with you guys. One of the best books I've ever read in my life is a book about loss. It's been written by a woman named Pauline Boss. And she writes about this concept of loss. She's written several books about this concept of loss. And people, when people are thinking of loss, they're thinking of coming to closure, right? There's this concept of coming to closure, and she says closure is a myth. There's no such thing as closure. She would say there's no ending. Well, there probably is an ending when you're 6 feet under. But there's no real ending, right? You're transitioning. And then this last step here, look for parts of your old identity that you can recreate. And that's that concept of transition. That's why it's not an ending, right? It's really a transition from what do I like, right? Savoring all the things you like about the job, right? Doing the things that you like with in the moment that you are with what you had, right? So I sold my home, had a last get together on the roof deck with friends, with a couple close friends, commemorated it, and now looking for parts of that old identity that I can recreate, that I want to recreate, right? Creating something new. Something new doesn't have to be bad. It's just new. It's just different.